there we go. Oh, there we go. Oh. Says Mikey Musumeci responds to Craig Jones's sellout comment from the Mighty Mouse podcast. Mikey, do you guys feel like Mikey's selling out? Or is he just looking out for himself? Is that selling out? Let's read some of this. Oh, they got a YouTube too. Can we watch the YouTube real fast? And I'll come back to this. Let's see. Got a timestamp or something, bro? Where that timestamp at, man? Hopefully, Mighty Mouse, please don't hit me with a copyright strike, brother. Let's see. Yo, Mighty Mouse he be selling on here. Here we go. I think this is it. Mighty Mouse, don't hit me. Let's listen for briefly.
Understand. Let's talk about the Mikey and you and the UFC coming into not mixed martial, but into jiu-jitsu. Here's my thing. I feel you are changing the game with jiu-jitsu. You're giving athletes the opportunity to make a lot of money, right? And now I just brought back my next question. Why isn't there no money in jiu-jitsu, right? How come you can...
Let me stop that. You know, I'm going to get hit with the copyright strike. You know, YouTube like to hit me with that copyright strike. This is on Mighty Mouse's YouTube channel. If you guys want to watch it, it's timestamp at 48:35. As much as I want to watch it, I don't know Mighty Mouse. He might hit me with that copyright. Take the stream down. If you guys been around, you see my screen go black a couple times, so I got to be careful. It says, for those who missed it, Craig Jones did an interview on Mighty Mouse podcast and called Mikey a sellout. Reasons being that Mikey keeps saying he wants to grow the sport. Hopefully you guys can see that. He wants to grow the sport, and he's doing that by joining the UFC. But Craig believes UFC BJJ hurts BJJ athletes. Craig believes UFC BJJ hurts BJJ athletes more than it will help, and that Mikey is benefiting off being a big fish in a small pond. I mean, honestly, since Mikey's been going to one championship and UFC BJJ, he really hasn't been fighting the same caliber of people that we want to see him fight. And at the same time, he's making more and more money, so it seems to go hand in hand with him. Also goes on to call Mikey out on promoting Derek Moneyberg. Oh yeah, I forgot about the whole Moneyberg stuff. I don't know. There's a lot to listen to for yourself. This Mikey guy is getting more unlikable by the second. Oh wow, Mikey, you losing the populace, Mikey. He used to be that quirky kid that's probably on the spectrum that only eats pasta and pizza. He still is. Now he seems more like a tool. He lived long enough to become the bad guy. Isn't that a saying? Anyone who spends excessive amount of time trying to access other people's feet is not normal. Some of the Reddit people feel attacked. Literally a tool for one to promote themselves in grappling. He stopped benefiting one when he pulled out of a fight and didn't have star power and got canned. Now he's a tool for the UFC to use to promote their product. Aren't all contractors and employees just tools? Oh, Jesus. What did Mikey do to say he had moral superiority? For example, his views on steroid use. We gotta post on Mikey about that too. And athletes that talk shit to promote. Everybody's just trying to succeed and get paid however they can. Calling out literally cheating is not being morally superior. Yeah, when you're cheating too. If you're cheating and you're calling out other cheaters. Am I the only person who thinks Mikey has always been selling a fake personality? a lot of your favorite jiu-jitsu people are. And taking vitamins this whole time, everything about him screams that he is a fake person. That's why my favorite Musumeci is Tammy Musumeci. She quiet. You don't hear nothing about her. She does her lawyer job. I don't think he's fake. It's just that his hard work is the leverage he has to go. Well, I don't know what that means. Whichever way he wants to go. I think when I saw him with Zuckerberg, I stopped supporting him. He would complain about eating disorders, blah, 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 and then hang out with the dude that is part of a system responsible for a lot of mental health issues and societal decay. Well, that's jiu-jitsu right now. Jiu-jitsu and MMA right now is not the healthiest. I'm saying like the healthiest environments with some of these people. Would be honestly weird if he wasn't on some kind of PED. Well, he's on Adderall, which is a PED. Or Vyvanse. Isn't that you guys didn't know that's a performance enhancer? That Adderall, the ADHD medication. You're telling me that enhanced focus is not a performance enhancer? I'm waiting for somebody to disagree with me. It's technically not against the rules though, so it's not literally cheating. Mikey's perspective on vitamins use is also the exception among top level professional players, so it's actually is grandstanding. A lot of people have been calling Mikey out lately. Says where the sport came from, it is against the rules. IBJJF, it only didn't become against the rules when Saudi money was introduced and they all started to dance for $1. Of course, CGI is going to follow suit since everyone is already sauced up. Same with UFC BJJ since it's just getting a following. The more cheating that goes on, the more it delegitimizes the sport. Most of the top BJJ athletes and athletes in general have always been taking vitamins. It's just now athletes are more honest about it. The name of the game now is being popular. It's authenticity. So most appreciate athletes that are using but honest over those that grandstand and pretend it's realistic to have a totally clean sport. Honestly, I would be surprised if guys weren't cheating. I mean, just look at the history of the sports in general. So many people have been caught using it. It's ridiculous. As far as I know, it's always been Brazilians. If you go watch, look at USADA, whoever they caught in jiu-jitsu, it's always been a Brazilian person. Musumeci says, I don't think what Mikey is doing is selling out. I'm not sure what Mikey, I don't know if he's selling out. Well, no one had a problem with when CGI ran at the same time as ADCC. This is all business. Yeah, I don't know if Mikey's selling out. He's definitely ducking people, though. He's been ducking people, and people are accusing him of being fake. I don't really know Mikey like that, so I can't say. Everyone's looking out for their own self-interest. I think we talked about this yesterday. That's why the UFC people can't unionize, and it's possible for everybody to eat well, but because everybody has that outlook of looking out for themselves, that's why the sports like MMA and jiu-jitsu are going to be controlled by people like Dana White. If people could work together, it would be way better for most people. If we could work together and make changes to the IBJJF, it would be better for all of us. I just don't see that happening because there's always going to be an athlete that's going to take lower or less. If that Brazilian dude destroyed some guy's leg for $1,000, I don't really have hope. I don't really have hope for the jiu-jitsu community too much. Most people are going to look out for themselves, and they'll screw the whole sport over, making sure they good. And there won't be no future for jiu-jitsu with some of their decisions. Complaining about grappler pay, then getting mad that Mikey may be getting the bag is silly. I'm not upset at Mikey. I am upset at Mikey because I don't think he's telling the truth a lot of times. He said that he was fighting the best competition or couldn't find the best competition, knowing full well he's signing these exclusive contracts that limit his ability to, or his opponent's abilities to have matches with him. And some other stuff too. I don't know. I'm not even talking about the Moneyberg stuff. I mean, I'm happy Mikey's making money. I'm happy he's making money, and a couple of his friends are going to make money. I don't know if he's really helping the sport. He's been claiming that, but I can't really say he's helped the sport really. He has been a figurehead to one championship and UFC BJJ. But I just don't believe they're the best decision for the sport. Now maybe I'm wrong. That's true. Maybe I am wrong. He is getting the bag. He's making more. He's making more money than me. That's for sure. I think there are different. There's more than one way to make money. If you guys are working regular jobs, I respect that too. And I don't want to hear these guys complaining when they get screwed over by Chaudhary at one championship, or they get screwed over by Dana White in the UFC. I don't want to hear these guys complain. Where was I at? So isn't Mikey at least being a hypocrite for signing on with the very organization that he knows is allowing cheating? There's nothing we can do about that. People are going to cheat. He's calling out roids is the one thing I really respect about him. Not if he's on some stuff too, but we don't know. Let me read some more of these comments. He's on the Moneyberg train, complete sellout. You pay me enough, I'll sell out. Sorry. For $500,000, I would give anyone their black belt. And most of us, honestly, can't even blame anyone for this. The older I get, the more I realize the importance of financial security. Just don't be a jackass about it. This is the right answer. He's always been a tool. Not sure why people are all of a sudden surprised. I'm not saying Mikey's a bad guy. Now, has he been lying or being fake? Maybe. I mean, Craig isn't wrong, and Mikey's response doesn't exactly give proof he's not a sellout. I would say I agree more and more with Mikey showing less integrity and looking out to make a buck. That's true. Is that what you guys want? You want Mikey to tell you that he's doesn't have integrity and just wants to make money? I mean, if he just said he was about money, I think we would respect that. Says the Moneyberg thing is unacceptable and hurt Mikey's reputation big time and in a permanent way. Not only that, but I think the ducking competition, I think that's also been a bad look on Mikey. The entire thing shows that there is a huge difference between having a black belt and being a black belt. That's true. Check Matt dude over there. He has a black belt, but is he really a black belt? People can read into this however they want. Are you implying black belts should have multifaceted integrity? You bad man. I mean, at this point, we have no expectations on black belts. They ain't got no morals, no character, no integrity. What's the point of being a black belt then? We shouldn't even have belts, to be honest. Let's get rid of the belt system. I agree. I respect Mikey's game, but if you're going to sell out, just admit it. I'd respect him more if he said something like he's put in his time and wants to make money. At least be honest with your selloutedness. He was taking that moral high ground about not using any performance enhancers. A couple athletes do that, which I support that. I support having a clean sport. Mikey Mucha money. Musumeci should have stayed at one. Hearing something about him once every 6 months is more than enough. Craig is just frustrated because he tried to put on a great event, and what happened? Only 2 teams stuck to the concept. Daisy Fresh and 10th Planet. What's up, Edwin? Yeah, get rid of the belt system. Yeah, we don't need belts. Get rid of the belts. Craig is frustrated because only 2 teams stuck to the concepts, Daisy Fresh and 10th Planet. For you guys that don't know, they're the 2 teams that fielded their own athletes from their own team. Everybody else needed wild cards to have a fair shot. All the others did not respect the idea and went from 1 or 2 wild cards to have essentially a team where nobody trained together ever. he got reminded that people in BJJ don't actually play the game and just want a quick buck because they are egotistical maniacs happy to sell their selves to anyone who offers them $1. That is true. We're starting to see that now. Very rarely do you see some integrity, people with some moral fiber. I mean, maybe that's just the life we live in, the world we live in. You know, we have these ideals, and you know most people can't live up to these ideals. Not a surprise. People are going to. Katarov already showed that. What is that? Is that the fighter? On the other hand, you have guys like Mikey making a fortune selling instructionals, doing 1 or 2 matches against terrible guys a year, and being promoted as the face of the UFC grappling promotion. A promotion we all know deep inside that will win the sport in the not so long term. The same Mikey who sold his self to Zuckerberg. What a surprise. I don't know. Mushmaster's defending Mikey. I actually do like Mikey as an athlete. As a person, I don't really know him, so I can't really judge him. He's made a lot of decisions I don't understand. He's changed teams like a million times, changed organizations a million times. I don't want to get into Mikey's head. I don't want to try to explain him. I don't want to defend him. I'm just reacting to whatever he's done, his actions, and whatever he said. Probably one of the more brutal and honest opinions in the sport. Sadly, crabs in a bucket. Maybe Mikey does think he's helping the sport. And I mean, he's making some money. I can't hate him for making the money. But you know, he's partnered up with some sketchy people. Well, everybody in jiu-jitsu sketchy. All these organizers are sketchy. It can really make you jaded. You know, if you follow some of these guys too closely, you get really jaded. You're only defending UFC BJJ. And I understand people like the tackets. Well, I can't defend that Mikey match for sure. I can't defend Mikey fighting a guy with no experience in no-gi, basically. But people, you know, UFC is I don't want to say they're a good organization, but Moneybird BS is unforgivable. Well, he'd be the main he might be the main sponsor behind the UFC BJJ. Actually, if he was, you would hear about it. There's just no way to do this sport at a high level and come off clean. You know, I'm sure a lot of these guys have done stuff they're not proud of. Mikey, for sure, Mikey, he vouched for Moneyberg. I really don't like Dana White, but you know, the UFC is a mainstay in this community, and they're probably going to be around for a long time. Now, are the fights good? Some of them. Is Claudia good? Probably not. I don't like Claudia. Is Dana White good? I don't think so. I want to see these people succeed. You know, I want people to have money and live a good life. You know, and be able to do this full time and have some savings. I'm happy for that. I tend to think more about the community as a whole, while, you know, I see some athletes say they are about that, but then they just focus on themselves. But that's life too. I can't change that. We can hope though, right? We can hope. We got to have some hope in this sport. We can't all be we can't all be negative and well, this is the only thing we could do. We got to settle for this. Well, Dana White said I can only make $500. We got to settle for this. I'm gonna always be optimistic for sure. I don't believe he's frustrated about that. If he's frustrated, it's ticket sales. They've gone badly. My suspicion is that the current immigration policy is one thing that drives people away from the event, and YouTube is safer. Allowing Victor Hugo and Nicky Rod to be on the same team seems like Craig doing his guys a favor. The wild card is Craig's idea to boost draw power and create more upsets and showcase matches. If anything, he's upset that teams like Daisy Fresh aren't using them and are instead using borderline unknowns in some weight classes. The second wild card is also Craig's idea because B Team guys made the mistake of letting Craig know that they were cutting him out before the tournament was complete. Josiah, what's up, bro? That's the type of response you have when you concede to an argument. At least he's owning it. I guess you can't blame the guy for doing a money grab. The only person who is really losing here is the guy to whom he sold a black belt. Yeah, that was a terrible situation. Well, nobody's defending the Moneyberg thing because he'll forever be known primarily as a BJJ joke. His podcast thing or whatever he does will always be secondary compared to his notoriety as a martial arts fraud. Screw that guy. He thought a black belt and endorsements from people whose skill we respect would give him credibility to start grifting us. He thought we were marks, and the fact that BJJ is a very put up or shut up art was lost on him proves he is BS. I gotta say that Mikey ducked ADCC. Don't give me that BS that he was too small. Baby Shark is the same size as him. He ducked every rule set that favors wrestling. Yeah, Mikey was ducking. He been switching teams left and right. He ain't got no loyalty. I'm not saying Mikey's a bad guy. Nobody's perfect for sure, but Mikey's in the limelight, so all your moves, you sneeze the wrong way, people post it on Reddit, and that comes with the fame, Who would have thought the dude that hops on one leg then sits down is terrible at stand up? Mikey makes more money competing elsewhere. It's weird how this board is all about athlete pay, but then when athletes go to the highest bidder over doing an entire tournament for $50K, everyone says they are ducking. That's true. He is ducking, but he's also making more money. So is Mikey wrong for that? I can't say. Mikey made $1 million in 1 year. Did he make $1 million? Did Mikey make $1 million? Why would he go fight Baby Shark and Pato back to back for $10K show money? Why wouldn't he go fight those guys? If you're making $1 million a year, why wouldn't you go test yourself against these people? And you're the best guy in the world. He could have made another $1 million fighting Baby Shark or Pato. For sure, Mikey would make more money fighting those guys, and maybe a CJI or some type of tournament like that. It would be nice to prove he's the best. I mean, he's not obligated to prove anything to us. That's true. I don't know what my argument is. Is Mikey really trying to grow the sport? Probably not. He is growing his wallet though, his bank account, which I respect that too. He's making some real money. Now what he had to do to make that money, I don't know. He probably had to do a lot of stuff you're not proud of. But I respect that he's got that money, and I don't know. I think we were asking too much for Mikey. Maybe I'm asking too much. I'm expecting too much from Mikey. He's just a man. He eats pizza. He eats pizza and pasta. He loves jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Maybe we're too hard on him. Should the athletes be demanding their bag, or should they be competing for vibes? If you guys want them getting paid, this is what that looks like. It means not showing up to the mega tournaments filled with the entire top 8 of your weight class for $10K. I guarantee he wasn't making more than $10K that weekend. Well, ADCC. He would rather beat some scrub at 1FC. What the heck just happened? He would rather beat some scrub at 1FC. What the heck just happened? I don't know what happened. He'd rather beat some scrub at 1FC. The best should want to prove to be the best. If you're willing to do something for low pay, why would anyone offer you more? At the moment, Mikey could definitely demand more than $50K to go against Baby Shark, and there would be an organization willing to pay it. No one would pay him more than $50K to go against Baby Shark if he just showed up to ADCC last year and did it for the $10K show money. Gordon did ADCC every time and gets paid more than Mikey, and Gordon is a big outlier. And as Craig has pointed out, Gordon isn't competing for 10 to 50K. Gordon gets his own bespoke contract for considerably more, which is why he let Mo literally live in house. And can't say that part. I don't know if you guys can even see that part. Each athlete is in a different situation, and the best plan of action for one isn't necessarily the best for others. Yeah, I mean, I see what Mushmaster's saying. Craig makes a lot of money too. Gordon makes a lot of money, and Mikey makes a lot of money. But out of those 3 athletes, really, who's creating a window for other athletes to come up? Gordon basically looks out for himself and maybe his Kingsway people. Mikey might look out for the Cobrinha boys for a little bit, but then he's gonna trade teams next month. He was at he been at Daisy Fresh, Kyle Teja, AOJ, Atos. Where else he been? He been everywhere. Mikey ain't gonna stick with nobody. And out of all those guys, I think Craig has been, I don't want to say the most giving, but he's been the most to give back to the athletes. So, and nobody's obligated. That's true. They're not obligated to give back. I think they should give back, but they're not obligated to give back. They're not obligated to help the sport grow. All they're obligated to do is take care of themselves, I don't know. That doesn't really seem like martial arts to me. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if Mikey has sold out. Did Mikey sell out? I think that's the big question. What do you guys think? Let me do a poll. Was it Edwin that asked to do a poll or something? Somebody asked about a poll. I'm gonna set up a poll. You guys click and say whatever you want to say. Mikey, if you're watching the stream, you can vote too. I mean, I don't really care either way. What's this got to do with me? I don't care. Life is about choices. That's true. BJ is not lucrative. Probably for about 3 or 4 people. Danaher, Mikey, and Gordon has been pretty lucrative, but that's 3 people out of a million people, or however many people are doing jiu-jitsu. I would say the same thing of MMA. Honestly, maybe we don't deserve to have professional jiu-jitsu or professional MMA or anything. It's just like the numbers really don't support it, right? I mean, honestly, like, the numbers don't support it. Like, it's never going to be like, football or basketball or soccer. As someone who has been in those meetings and dealt with negotiations, I'm here to tell you it's not paying like that. That's what I'm saying. Well, you're saying, some of these guys think Mikey's got $1 million. He might. I mean, someone like Gordon might have a lot of money, but even he, like, the money he's making is nothing compared to like other sports. So I just don't think we're not like judo either. Maybe we could be like judo. Everyone is out for themselves. Even your own coach will dog you out. Some of these coaches will dog you out. I don't think it's the smartest plan to focus on being they're just yapping on. Yeah, that's true. I just don't think people should go the professional route. I'm watching PGF highlights, and these guys out here making $1,000, getting their leg destroyed. The dude at the local open mat getting his leg destroyed for what? So I think, I don't know. I'm not sure what will happen in the future, but maybe it should stay a hobby. Maybe MMA should stay a hobby. Maybe jiu-jitsu should stay a hobby. Because it doesn't seem like the financial doesn't seem like the finances are really working out to that point. The dudes aren't retiring off of BJJ earnings. That's true. I mean, look at how these guys got to sell out. Even Gordon has a school. He opened up a school, teaching beginners, teaching the white belts in the gi. So I think maybe that's what we should be focusing on. Just keep it a hobby. Hobby, you can make a little bit of money teaching, but maybe professional jiu-jitsu just won't be a thing. Because it doesn't seem like it's really working out. That sounds pretty pessimistic. It's popular, but it's just not paying. Now, if we could get some sponsors, that might be different. If we could get some sponsors, But even sports like pickleball, pickleball is like one of the fastest growing sports. It's still getting investments from and sponsors from tennis. Like a lot of the tennis players put their money into pickleball. That's okay. We're not entitled to having our passion be our job. That's true. And some of us don't want our passion to be our job. you be tired and burned out of jiu-jitsu at the end of the day sometimes. So maybe that should be the but I see people like AOJ, they're pushing jiu-jitsu to their young athletes, and I'm wondering like what's the move for them in the future? Because some of the athletes like Jessica Khan, she stopped competing completely and she just teaches at their gym or something. But what's in it for her? Like a lot of those kids forego schooling and other opportunities to be good at jiu-jitsu. And maybe that's just it. I'm pushing kids to do wrestling. I'm like, at least you can get a scholarship and stuff in wrestling. Jiu-jitsu, you just get a torn ACL. Even with sponsors, BJJ still won't be paid much. Well, I mean, judo's got sponsors, right? Or are you saying the government sponsors? I'm saying France, not here in America. I mean, even if you do make a lot of money, that doesn't mean you're guaranteed to keep that money. Look at some of these professional athletes. They make $50 million and be broke. How are you broke after you made $50 million? Judo don't pay much. We're talking about France, bro. France. Teddy Reiner, bro. He's basically, I guess he's an outlier too. Says it's basically about getting the bag and also letting the others get it as well. UFC BJJ has a couple of big red flags. I see that. Mikey isn't stopping anyone from getting the same bag they have always got. Baby Shark can keep showing up to ADCC every 2 years for $50K grand prize if he's happy to do so. It's not even $50K. Mushmaster says, I tell kids to get a job and degree and do this for the love of the game. That might be what we needed to say. We just need to tell kids that. We tried to make this sport professional. At least we tried. We put our time in and tried to go to these big events. Now some of these tournaments, IBJF makes a lot of money, and they're gonna stick around because they don't give the money to the athletes. UFC makes a lot of money. They're going to stick around because they don't give money to the athletes. So, it's just wild to me that these organizations will make money off of jiu-jitsu, but they're like, oh, it's not sustainable to give the athletes any money. Same thing with UFC. They say the same thing. We got $7 billion, but we can't afford to give you guys any money. So I'm not sure. I mean, they're still going to do well. They're still going to have hobbyists out there. But maybe there won't be a professional league. Maybe there will be. I don't know. I'm trying not to be too pessimistic. Says, agreed. I have no issue with him doing this stuff for money. The Moneyberg thing, though, I have no idea why he would participate in that, even if it was money. He was in 2022, but got appendicitis. Was that Mikey that got appendicitis? Or was that was Shane Jamil Hill that got appendicitis, not Mikey. He got sick a month before the event, and also, where was he in 2024? He definitely ducked Baby Shark, and everyone else in the division are definitely bigger than him. Well, Mikey cuts a lot of weight. Most of them are walking around at 175. Baby Shark did duck him in one, though. Mushmaster says, Alec, our generation tried and paved the way. We're like Hoopers pre-merger. Yeah, we tried, bro. We tried. We over here destroyed our bodies and our careers and our livelihood. Some people going to make a living. Now, are they going to be well off? No, they're gonna be solidly middle class. They're going to be able to pay their bills and do a little bit of work But I just don't see jiu-jitsu becoming a, it might become like, like low-level soccer or something. It might become like low-level soccer or something. Well, Mushmaster said, keep your day job, people. Keep your day job. Honestly, I would like to see more of the grapplers and combat sports athletes using more of the social media stuff. But I understand that's not for everybody. We got great stories. We got some crazy stories. Not sure how we survived. Everyone says the sports athletes don't know how to manage money. Unfortunately, that's why they go broke. But a few are wise. Well, listen to the old dudes. That's usually what keeps the young guys out of trouble. Listening to the old dudes. I want the sport to continue growing. Again, only a small percentage will do well financially. Even out of the elite people, I can't even see my hands. Out of all the elite people I know, usually like a small percentage of people are doing really well. And there's a small percentage of schools that are killing it. Most schools are struggling. They can only keep the same number of people, keep the lights on. I do see potential though. I do see potential. Maybe we're just too early. Mushmaster, we're just too early, bro. That's all. Maybe 10, 20, 30 years. Like, man, they're doing really well now. Where the heck was I? Props to Craig for being so real, so consistently. Coming up on UFC Fight Pass, Mikey versus a guy who won the 2022 Masters for one no-gi. Ever since he endorsed money bags, I've lost respect for him. I mean, Craig is, of course, the UFC has shown over their entire existence that unless you are one of the people at the very top, even then, even the people at the very top not making that much money. Kayla Harrison not making that much money. Alex Pereira not making that much money. Israel Adesanya didn't make that much money. Who else over there? GSP didn't make that much. Like they doing okay for themselves, but they still got a budget. And I mean, GSP living good though. He has some good sponsorships. John Jones should have made more money, but he messed himself up. That's his fault. John Jones could have done a lot more for the sport than he did. If John Jones was a good guy, he would have made hundreds of millions of dollars. And had good sponsorships and grew the sport. Says the UFC has shown over their entire existence that unless you are one of the people at the very top, you will be extremely lucky if you get the same yearly earnings as a moderately successful dentist. A large chunk of the roster is still working a day job to make ends meet. I was over there attacking the UFC. We had some people on here defending the UFC, but my main argument is that someone like Dana White has $500 million net worth, and all them fighters. All the UFC fighters from the start to the finish together they don't have $500 million. Even with Conor McGregor. If that ain't messed up, I don't know what is. I don't blame him for trying to get his bag, but he should drop the promoting BJJ because it's definitely not. Yeah. I don't know if Mikey's promoting BJJ, is he? I mean, he is promoting. I don't know how he's I think Mikey's hurting BJJ, to be honest. You turn on UFC BJJ and Mikey's hopping on one leg. Nobody wants to watch that. That's not Mikey. He says, I haven't watched the Mighty Mouse interview yet, but I will get into it. They say any publicity is good publicity. Even the bad stuff. I don't have any skin in the game. as I don't compete, and I'll never be a pro athlete looking to make money that way. Ultimately, I don't care about the Moneyberg thing either. I don't care that he's a real black belt. I've met plenty of not great black belts. Even those not great black belts are better than Moneyberg. It just doesn't really matter to you. I just want people to enjoy BJJ, more people. You don't realize that's putting more people off. Honestly, it's okay for him to be a sellout, but just own being a sellout. Don't make stuff up to try pretending to not be seen as one. If you're chasing the bag and lose your integrity, just own it. Mikey's an absolute sellout. Mikey's not that pleasant a person and talks a lot of stuff. Wasn't the whole point of CGI that it paid the athletes more? Why would it be a surprise that Musumeci is doing what pays him more? What is the meaning of calling someone a sellout when your own event relies on having more prize money than other events in order to buy athlete participation? I mean, you can make the argument CGI 1 paid all the athletes at their event more, but that's still meaningless as it's only like 16 or so people in total. It's not like they're making some sustainable IBJF type tour, which gives hundreds or even dozens of athletes potential careers. I mean, forever, teaching has always been the career move in jiu-jitsu. Maybe it still is. It's no surprise, but Mikey pretends he's doing it for the growth of BJJ and other noble reasons, not that he just wants more money. Like Craig said, you want to sell out? Great, just own it. Don't hide behind made-up reasons. There's this weird idea that multiple things can't be true at the same time. Mikey came out and said that he teamed up with the UFC for money. It's also possible that the UFC can grow BJJ viewership versus the basically non-existent marketplace that currently exists. Mikey isn't fighting the best because fighting the best doesn't pay the bills. Craig also took money fights versus fighting the best. But Craig also did ADCC though. That is true. Craig did not duck. Both say they want to grow the sport. Any reason they both can't be sincere in their intent? I mean, your actions. Craig blaming UFC BJJ for why his event is losing $800K and likely won't ever happen again is hilarious. Well, the UFC, I'm not sure. The UFC's not making any money, is there? UFC BJJ, I don't think is making money. They might cut the UFC BJJ. Dana White going to see that UFC BJJ bled out $800K and he's going to cut it. And then Mikey will be at CGI. You guys know I'm eating. Sorry, guys. I'm only human. At least you know I'm not AI. AI don't have to eat. I be smacking. You know I'm here. Craig blaming UFC BJJ for why his event lost $800K. Likely won't ever happen again. Is hilarious. He didn't blame UFC BJJ. As it stands, Craig and people who do his event and associate with him are the only ones growing BJJ as a sport in a positive way, according to Craig Jones. I mean, the other events are growing the sport too, but I think CGI is probably the biggest one. I mean, ADCC too, I believe. IBJF, I mean, they're growing the sport, but just through their hobbyists, not like just spectators. The guy who signed with an organization that can actually accomplish what Craig is failing at is the bad guy to Reddit. LOL. Go back to buying tickets to an event you can't attend so the millionaire jet setting Coke, I can't say that part, doesn't take a loss. Just said this may be an unpopular opinion, but I think Craig is going too far here. As someone who enjoys watching both of these guys compete, Mikey would have literally done CGI last year if he could have and was literally officially announced as a participant, but the organizers, Craig, failed to find a suitable opponent. Mikey's like, I can't fight that guy, can't fight that dude, don't want to fight that guy. So if Mikey had done Craig competition, he wouldn't be a sellout, but now because he tried to get himself consistent matches and won, he didn't. And now UFC, he did. Who's he fighting in UFC? Who did he fight in one championship? The only person he fought that was decent was Gabriel Souza. He ain't fought nobody in UFC BJJ. that we know of yet. Says, no, that makes him someone who wants to compete often and wants to be fairly compensated for it. Why would he trust in CGI to get him a consistent source of revenue if they didn't get him a match last year? And if it may or may not exist next year, from his perspective, he's picking the smart, stable option. People saying that UFC BJJ, I could see Dana White cutting well, Dana White, he won't cut slap fight, but I can see him cutting the BJJ portion. Overall, I love Craig and how he's trying to expand the sport, but he has a pattern of attacking people who don't align with everything he wants. Vion Davies, who he heavily promoted for CGI 1, but now attacks for joining UFC. Is Vion supposed to just trust that there will be a yearly CGI competition from someone who admits he's leaving after this year, and that she'll make enough from winning that and give up on her more stable UFC income for that? Well, even Vion teaches. She teaches full time. That's her job. That UFC money, that's her play money, her tattoo money. DeAndre and Gavin Corbry quit their 9-to-5 jobs for this. They messed up. At least they got a degree. They got their engineers, so they can get another job. But these other dudes, people like Hillbilly Hammer, some of these other guys, they ain't got what kind of job they gonna do? They might have to do a construction job or something. What can those dudes do? The Corbry bros need to go back to their 9-to-5, bro. He's not attacking them for not doing what he wants, but for joining UFC specifically. I understand he feuds against UFC is not only against Monopoly, but against one of its main tools, which are exclusivity contracts for independent contractors, which is kind of contradictory. My fear is that if you guys keep supporting the UFC, they'll put the other organizations out of business. You know, they'll put PGF. PGF about to be under UFC. They'll take over PGF, Zapatero, who's number one. UFC will eat up everything, just like they did in MMA. And do you guys want Dana White and Claudia controlling jiu-jitsu? I think not. Edwin says, I like PGF, not sure how far it will go, but seeing that in CGI for free is dope. PGF you didn't see the Moneybird picture with, they call him Voltron. What's that? Zoltan? Voltron? Whatever his name is. They about to sell out too. They about to have that exit to UFC. Says other leagues and events, including ADCC as in the tournament and one championship, which is known for shady practices, don't require their athletes to not compete in other tournaments. So joining UFC isn't just not doing what he wants, but it's giving validity to this type of abusive contracts. Yeah, the contract's super abusive. Have you seen some of those UFC contracts? Yeah, I would never sign that stuff. But again, a lot of these jiu-jitsu guys can't read or write, so they so joining the UFC isn't just doing what he wants, but giving validity to this type of abusive contracts, which limits the fighters' freedom to fight whenever they can and for whomever they want as independent contractors, and it also limits the growth of newer and diverse leagues where more guys can fight. But Leia, he says, Money Turd versus Gabby Garcia announced a special super fight for CGI 3. Yo, you guys heard it from Balea, man. That sounds real. Moneybird gonna have her in the basement, smelling his socks. Don't do it, Gabby. Don't do it. You know, she might do it, though. Says, you are right. Craig is totally off base here. The whole message of CGI was that athletes go get your bag. What's funny is that Gordon criticized all the CGI 1 athletes for being sellouts. After all, most of them had promised to do ADCC and then pulled out last minute to do something else because more money dangled in front of them. It wasn't just more money. It was the cash prize of winning ADCC just to show up. Balea says Mika has a contract with Flow and he can do IBJF, ADCC, who's number one, and BJJ Stars, and soon Polaris. Can he do UFC BJJ? Or he can't do that. It's on a different show. Well, Polaris is on it's on Fight Pass, right? All right, Mikey. So guys, Mikey could have had the same contract. Mikey been lying this whole time. Mikey could have done ADCC, IBJJF, Who's Number One, BJJ Stars, Polaris, UFC, or maybe not UFC. He could have done all this stuff. Mikey been lying this whole time. Mikey been lying. Mikey says other athletes have deals with Flow and they can compete everywhere. Why would anyone want to limit their exposure and potential brand growth? Mikey been lying. Belay over here dropping bombs over here, Belay. Mikey, Mikey, what you got to say, Mikey? Mikey been lying this whole time. He been ducking, bro. We know he been ducking. He could have done every tournament. Mikey been ducking, bro. What, Mikey? Just say you been ducking, Mikey. Tell people you don't want to fight Pato or Baby Shark. You running from them. Just tell people that. Just tell people that. Mikey been lying this whole time, bro. And he said he couldn't find no opponent for UFC BJJ. What? But Leia, why you had to fight? But Leia, why Mikey had to fight a dude with no no-gi experience? Why did Mikey agree to that match? Or was that Claudia? Says, no, I did not see that. Man, that sucks. But if B-Mac got good money for him. Mikey, bro. Okay, Mikey is a sellout then. He a liar and a sellout. Mushmaster, what you gotta say about that, Mushmaster? Mikey been complaining this whole time. He coulda Mikey. Mikey, come on the stream and defend yourself, Mikey. I'm guessing Mikey wanted Baby Shark after Baby Shark signed with. He's like, I'm ready to fight you, Baby Shark. Oh, you over at 1? I can't fight you now. And Baby Shark probably tried to get over at 1 so he could fight Mikey. And then Mikey leaves. And then Baby Shark goes to UFC BJJ, and then Mikey leaves to something else. Mikey, stop ducking Baby Shark and Pato and some of these other people. Mikey, go fight some real people, bro. Jason Whitfield says, if the UFC really wanted to, they could end all of these other promotions because they have ended some of these promotions, WEC and some of these other shows that I used to love. They destroyed them shows. He says they can end all those other promotions because they have so much money. They could just buy all the jiu-jitsu athletes. I hope Dana doesn't decide to use the Infinite Gauntlet. He could Dana White could end jiu-jitsu like that. Because all these guys would sell their soul for a little bit of money. Belay says, since Baby Shark signed with what? Claudia got Harrison. That was terrible, bro. Who? I don't like her, man. I don't like her. She should not be in charge. Why is she in charge? They should have put Mackenzie Dern in charge. Mackenzie Dern would have done a good job. Mushmaster said, I stand corrected. Mikey could have made all the money in the world. Mikey had all the opportunities. Oh, Jesus. My man is growing the sport by not fighting the best fighters. Difference is UFC makes money. UFC BJJ does not. It's a marketing expense. But man, they might cut that. They might cut that next year. Says, bro, Brazilians didn't even know who Harrison is. I mean, if the Brazilians didn't know who Harrison was, Americans for sure as heck didn't know. Now, if they had put Pato or Baby Shark on that UFC BJJ, we all would be supporting BJJ, UFC BJJ. Or if they put an MMA fighter, I'm not sure who he could fight. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not defending Mikey. Is Mikey getting the bag? Yes, but he probably could. He's leaving money on the table. Mikey is helping the sport by leaving money on the table for us. I'm not. What's the argument? Is he selling out? I think Mikey just. I don't know. I'm not saying he's had a fake persona, but seems like it. Their goal is to use BJJ to help develop new stats or new stars. They wanted new star. Oh. They wanted Mika so bad, but he with Flow. I think that's the best move. Be with Flow grappling. Do whatever you want. If Mika had gone to UFC BJJ, I think that would have been bad. So shout out to Melky Galval. He was smart. He's like, well, I want my kid to still be able to do some tournaments. Imagine if Mika signed with UFC BJJ. You wouldn't see Mika no more. He'd be over there with Mikey, not fighting nobody, he'd be fighting up people from Dagestan and people from Sambo. He wouldn't be fighting no jiu-jitsu fighters. They probably would be paying him a little bit of money, but I mean, you still gotta fight though, man. You still gotta, when you're in your prime. Mikey's one of the best grapplers out there. That's awesome, man. Oh, you did the deal? Man, Mikey could have hooked up with Balea and been set, bro. I mean, he wouldn't be able to duck anybody anymore. I mean, Mikey doesn't owe us. He doesn't owe us any explanation. He can do whatever he wants. I just don't want to hear him talk no more about people ducking him and trying to grow the sport. How is he growing the sport when he's not even doing all the tournaments? Now, if Mikey was doing all these tournaments like Mika does, BJJ Stars and ADCC and Who's Number One and all this stuff, I would say he was growing the sport. But Mikey going over to one, going to UFC BJJ, I don't think he's really doing what he says. Jason says, we asked why is Claudia in charge of UFC Jiu-Jitsu. It's the same reason Laura Sanko is doing live commentary at UFC events. There's no secret here. I mean, Daddy Dana likes to have those girls close by. Why is Nina Marie more famous than the fighters? UFC pays good. Difference is, to quote Chael Sonnen, Who's Number One is where the best fight the best. What does grow the sport even mean? I don't know. I mean, that's something Mikey can just say and not have no tangible results. They can point to views like, okay, well, CGI got 1 million views. They can say UFC BJJ got 1 million views. But I mean, that's just the same UFC audience as far as I know. I think if they wanted to grow the sport, you need to collab with wrestling. Go to wrestlers. Go to collab with the judoka. I know they don't like us in judo, but somehow collab with the organizations, USA Wrestling, USA Judo. I think if you're going to grow the sport, it needs to be through the martial arts and specifically the grappling arts. Inviting CGI invites like Gable Stevenson and Pat Downey and Jason. Or the UFC BJJ did have Jason All. I think having those crossovers really help. Maybe even getting some pro wrestlers. Can we get some pro wrestlers? Can we get some crossover? Maybe throw Craig over there at WWE for a little bit. Bring in Ronda Rousey. I don't know. Balea says, IBJF's mission statement is to try to make everyone in the world train jiu-jitsu. Good luck with that. That's how we grow the sport. Yeah. Getting more average Joes and Janes doing it. And arguably, they've been successful. Masters Worlds and Jiu-Jitsu Con going to have 12,000 people. Over 12,000 people. So that seems like a good metric. Viewers don't grow the sport. Practitioners do. That's true. I mean, you can get 1 million views and people watch for 2 seconds, 3 seconds. That's a view right there. Getting more practitioners. I think having the sport become more accessible, because what I'm seeing is that the sport is getting so expensive. If you're in California or New York, I mean, if you're broke, you can't really afford it. So making it more accessible. I think Craig has been working with his Guardian Foundation. I mean, just do anything, Mikey. Mikey didn't say no. He didn't say how he was growing the sport outside of the views. So I think just having tangible plan, even if it doesn't work out. I just feel like a lot of stuff Mikey says has been falling apart, and I don't know what to say. I'm not here to defend Mikey. He needs to defend himself. Where were we? Says the fact Craig is asking people to buy tickets to CGI even if they don't plan on attending helps Mikey prove his point that the shady money source funding isn't even sustainable. Where do you think UFC got their money? What do you think? The only problem is that Mikey chose to side with UFC, which probably doesn't have any real interest in grappling. Belaya says they're just marketing expense. And will drop it once they realize no one cares about the sport. I could see UFC BJJ being discontinued. You know, I think UFC probably slap fight probably more profitable than UFC BJJ. Slap fight, the worst sport in the world. The worst sport in the world is more profitable than jiu-jitsu. So, I don't think the UFC cares to turn a profit on UFC BJJ. I think it's more about just keeping these athletes away from their competitors. Uh-oh, you hear that, guys? You guys know I don't support UFC BJJ. The ONE FC grappling matches were quite good at getting fans to pay attention to ONE, and the BJJ to UFC pipeline has given ONE several good prospects like the Rotulos and Tonin. The UFC will eat a small loss on UFC BJJ since it keeps these people away from ONE and hence helps them maintain the MMA monopoly, at least in America. And it's also a small investment because some of these BJJ guys in UFC BJJ could transition straight to the UFC. I know Tackett says he wants to. Fionn says she wants to. I'm sure Canuto did one. Did he do a UFC fight? What's the girl that fought Cassia, the Brazilian girl? They used to compete a lot. She's in the UFC. Frank Mir's daughter. Show your neighbor a slap box TikTok and then try to show him UFC BJJ clip. The one with Mikey jumping on one leg. Which one would they like more? I mean, yeah, probably slap fight. I mean, they both terrible. Slap fight is the worst sport in history. And that's still better than jiu-jitsu. So I don't know what to say. I think Mikey's hurting jiu-jitsu with his fight versus Harrison. That was the worst fight ever. I think that put more people off jiu-jitsu than anything else. The UFC will eat a small loss on UFC BJJ since it keeps those people away from ONE and hence helps to maintain the monopoly on MMA. And small investment because BJJ guys will transition to UFC. So it actually might be smart for them. I mean, they can't. I don't think they could do that with wrestling, but they can do that with BJJ. Craig is the entire reason exclusive contracts happen. He torpedoed ADCC a month out by stealing a bunch of athletes and counter-programming them. He laughed openly at Mo for having such loose, informal contracts. Well, you never had to sign a contract for ADCC. Maybe now. I didn't sign no contract for ADCC. But also, they didn't give me any money. So now companies are protecting themselves from Craig coming in to steal their athletes out from underneath them with a salary plus one. With salary plus $1. Edwin says, here in New Jersey, a membership for full access is around $200. I just do drop-ins when I can pay $100 a month. I know I'm doing better financially. I know jiu-jitsu is growing when it's more accessible. It's in the school system. It's it is